Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening. Welcome to 23rd PMI question answer session. So today we will be talking about another interesting topic. The topic is ground rules. That is again relevant to people domain of product management, very important. So we will be discussing exam-like similar questions, 10 questions as before. Let me just share my screen and then we will start. So please confirm if you could see my screen. Is it visible to all of you?
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Again, 10 questions. I will be showing you a question around for 60 to 70 seconds. You will be answering in the Zoom chat window directly to me, not to everyone. Okay, so that you don't influence others' responses. All right, so let's start with question number 1. For this mock exam or for these 10 questions, think from practical perspective, okay? There would be a lot of confusing questions today, right? But think them from practical perspective, like if you are in the shoes of project manager, how you would be reacting, how you would be behaving. But remember the principles are PMIism, be nice, be positive, be servant leader, be helpful, right? Don't rush, investigate first, try all the possible options, then go for the final solutions. Take care of what is the last resort, what is the last option, right? Communicate, be transparent, be open, be direct, right? So these are some of the, PMIism or principles which are good practices which would be helpful to you in the real exam. All right, let's start with question number 1. All right, so who would like to comment? I have different answers. Let's start with the first answer. Chinamis, you have chosen option B. Why?
I think the first thing to do is to have a face-to-face meeting, have a meeting with the team to reinforce the ground rules. And from all the options here, I did eliminate C, sending an email. Doesn't cut it. Introduce incentives or compliance. And this is the first time this was observed. So it's asking what's the first thing you should do. I think having a face-to-face meeting first to reinforce the ground rules should be the first thing to do.
All right. So did you use any principle, any good practice, or how did you choose meetings? Like, what's the rationale behind that?
I know the best form of meeting is face-to-face meeting.
Absolutely. So you have used one of the agile principles, like best
Principles,
form
yes.
of communication is face-to-face
It's
communication.
face-to-face meeting.
Okay, right. Thank you. Next is Felicity. You have chosen option C.
Yes, it's been a while since I was at one of these classes and I haven't been doing much reading, unfortunately.
So I can't remember what you said about what you can assume and what you can't assume heading into these questions. So I honestly, I feel a bit like I don't kind of know what I am supposed to already know going into this question. I think I selected C because it seems like a simple first step to send an email to people emphasizing the need. I guess I felt that on the assumption side of things, the A, thoroughly explaining ground rules and scheduling a meeting to reinforce the ground rules, I felt that those were kind of the same thing. And I thought that on the assumption side of the house that you could kind of assume that that happened in the first place when you set the ground rules out, that they already were thoroughly explained. So it was more a matter of compliance. So then I figured simple first step would be C, sending out an email emphasizing the need for compliance. D is kind of, to me, next step. If you're still having problems, then you start having to introduce incentives and consequences. But then I was kind of second thinking it, like I'm a big person for like consequences. I think if you have ground rules, there should always be consequences to breaking rules. So I don't know, I'm waffling a bit, but I'll stick with C.
All right, thank you. Nice explanation. So, uh, you explained that arranging a workshop is something that you have already done. So, normally workshops are conducted when you need to do brainstorming, when you need to plan something, right? Where you need input of all the team members. So, maybe you can conduct workshop while writing these ground rules, while drafting these ground rules at the first place, maybe in the start of the project. You arrange a workshop, invite all the relevant stakeholders, and then you come up with these ground rules. So this is actually a detailed exercise to come up with uh, different ground rules. But the question here is not about defining ground rules. The question is about reinforcing or implementing those. All right, so you have chosen email. Just remember from PMI exam perspective, email is the least effective way of communication. Okay, it's the least effective way of communication. So when you want to improve behavioral change, when you want to improve people habits, when you want to change the way they behave, so the best form of communication is face to face. Just remember from exam perspective, and this is one of the agile principles, is as Chinamis mentioned. But good try. Alan, you have chosen option B. Why? Quickly.
Yeah, I choose B because as Shinami, um, I'm meeting to reinforce what all they already know will help to understand what is happening, and also face-to-face meeting can help to reinforce the information.
All right. Thank you. Francis, you have chosen option C.
Yes, I've chosen option C. Initially, actually, I chose option A, and then I kind of second guessed myself in a sense that the option A says arrange. So it's like you are taking a step to resolve a problem instead of communicating. So um, I thought maybe C would be a way to communicate before we enforce these rules, before we go through and explain the ground rules, because they already know. If you go to work, I think you know one of the introduction when you're hired, you know the set of the rules and all this regulation that guides the company. So yeah, I was more or less I chose A, then I went for C.
Right, good try. But Francis, point is we are not just communicating here, right? Yes. If it is just communication, just delivery of message, then maybe email would work. But here we are talking about how we can guarantee compliance with the ground rules, how we can make sure like people actually they follow these ground rules. So as we discussed earlier, face-to-face communication is best form of communication. Correct answer is answer C, right? Let's read the explanation. We have already explained these things. Sorry, correct answer is B. Schedule a meeting with the project team to reinforce the ground rules. All right, I hope it is clear. If you have any comment about answer or if you have any different opinion, feel free to raise your hand or write in chat window. That would be really useful for all of us. All right. Neeraj, do you have a comment? Quickly, please.
Yeah. So in question, it's mentioned that after multiple iterations, right? So these face-to-face meetings, weren't these covered under those iterations? And then finally, we want to capture something over the emails.
No, multiple iterations, those meetings are for, for iteration purposes, like daily stand-up, what you accomplished yesterday, what you are going to do today, what are bottlenecks. So the agenda for those meetings is entirely different. Here you are targeting a specific issue, right? So for that, you need a separate meeting where you are inviting people and you're talking about importance of ground rules. You're coaching them like how important these ground rules are. So we should all adhere to these. So agenda for those meetings is different. Agenda for this meeting is different.
Okay.
Amar, sorry to interrupt. Just a question on option D, right? Incentives. When does that would come into play?
Yeah, introduce incentive and compliance like uh, you can do that in the start. For example, when you plan something, you can introduce incentives along with that policy. Like, for example, if you follow that, we will be incentivizing you. But this transactional relationship is so, for example, when we call motivation, it is divided into two categories, extrinsic and intrinsic. Always go for intrinsic motivation, and intrinsic motivation comes through dialogue, through open communication, through encouraging others, right? So incentives and compliance are least effective. So you should talk to people, you should tell them how important these ground rules are. So preferred way of reinforcing these ground rules is having face-to-face conversation. As in the answer you have seen, it's an opportunity for team members to seek clarification if they are having some problems, like why they are not following ground rules. So it's an opportunity for them to discuss with you, and you can answer accordingly. If there is any need to amend the ground rules, if ground rules are not practical, if team members don't have time. So it's an opportunity for all the relevant stakeholders to discuss the problem at hand and come up with a mutually agreed solution. So we need to find out what's the most effective way of solving the problem. One more thing, whenever you approach these questions, just ask yourself, if I pick this option, would it solve problem? So in some question, you'll see more than one options would be relevant and correct, but you need to choose the most effective one, the most relevant one, considering the context and situation. So you can introduce incentives and punitive measures like consequences for violation of the ground rules. And for consequences, this is the last resort. These punitive measures are last resort. In Agile or normally when we manage teams, we don't go with these options because our leadership style is not punitive leadership style. So punitive leadership style or transactional leadership style is where you reward team members. It's a give and take relationship. So this is not the preferred leadership style. Preferred leadership style is servant leadership. So servant leadership is all about giving autonomy to team member, freedom, right? Uh, Having open communication, face-to-face communication, serving them, removing bottlenecks. So whenever you solve these questions, be be a servant leader or approach these questions from the mindset of a servant leader. If you have that mindset, half of the question would be answered easily, right? So correct answer is option B. Have a face-to-face conversation.
Thank you.
Right. Question number 2. All right. So when you solve these questions, take care of time as well. So I have already explained many times. So you will be having exam in 3 different sessions. So you will be having session 1, and in session 1, you will be having 60 questions. I recommend do not spend more than 80 minutes on session 1. Then there would be a break for 10 minutes. After break, there would be session 2. 60 questions again for these 75 minutes. And then there would be another break. And after break, there would be session 3, in which I recommend do not spend more than 75. So total time would be 230 minutes and question would be 180, right? So one of my students, she couldn't pass the exam last year because she completed her exam 90 minutes earlier. So this is also a warning sign. If you are that much quick, right, it means something is wrong. So don't rush, take your time, spend 60 to 70 seconds on each question. Even if question looks easier and simpler, still reread it. Maybe you'll find a keyword that would be helpful. So don't rush. Okay. So why I'm saying this, because some of you have answered in first 20 seconds, right? And couple of answers are incorrect. Even the question is very simple and easy, right? So that's why I'm saying take your time. Right. So let's see what is the correct answer. So Manmeet.
Yeah. The reason I chose C because the project manager is emphasizing on be punctual in the meeting and be why meetings are crucial, and he commands or requests, he's committed basically to the meeting's time zone, that it has to end on a respected time and does not go over the boat. So I just thought like he's committed to the overall team. That's why I picked C.
So how commitment to the overall theme is relevant to facilitating team meeting?
Facilitating, I understood that facilitating means we are we are processing the action of something. Here is meeting, so we are processing the action of meeting within the team. So that's why I picked.
So for example, I'm facilitating this Zoom meeting, right? So I'm a facilitator.
Uh-huh.
So this is called
Mhm.
facilitating. So there might be a chance somebody else is facilitating a meeting. So let's suppose Callum is the project manager, let's suppose, right? I am facilitating a meeting. Callum is the project manager, and Callum is saying we should be punctual, we should be ready for meetings, we should be on time. So it doesn't mean Callum is facilitating the meeting, right? Callum is just emphasizing on a particular point. It doesn't show that Callum is facilitating the meeting. So this is not a correct answer. I hope it is clear to everybody. If not, you can comment on that. So facilitating team meeting is not correct because it could be somebody else facilitating the meeting, not the project manager. All right. Callum, you have chosen option D. So you're not facilitating the meeting. You said, okay, let me choose something else.
Yeah, the reason I just put the option D, implementing time boxing, is this all about that strict timelines, and with time boxing is that we are given some specific time to come up with an answer for the specific question. So then that's the whole behavior being discussed in this project. So that's why I just chose the time boxing, because it's not clarifying the team charter, and it's not like resource management plan. So facilitating didn't sound good to me. So then I just chose option D.
All right. So time boxing has specific, understanding in Agile. So for example, whatever we do that has a fixed time, and when we fix the time, that is called time boxing. For example, we say, okay, iteration planning meeting would be conducted for 8 hours if length of iteration is 4 weeks. And it would be 4 hours if length of iteration is 2 weeks, and so on. This is called time boxing. Emphasizing on punctuality, this is not time boxing. Okay, time boxing is you're fixing the time, okay, for this particular meeting, for this particular activity, for this particular ceremony, we will be spending this much time. You're fixing the time, right? Here we're not talking about fixing the time. Here we're talking about we should be punctual, we should be on time, right? We should respect everybody's time. Okay, so this is not implementing time boxing. Yes, if the question is like project manager is saying we will be meeting tomorrow, and tomorrow meeting would be for 30 minutes and we will be discussing this, that is called time boxing. You understand? This is not, this is a general rule which project or general norm or value which project manager is explaining to all the team members. Like as a team member, we will adhere to these norms and values. So time boxing is not correct here. All right. I can see option. So no option B, I guess. Okay. Anyone who has chosen option A, Mohan, you have chosen option A, why?
I mean, I chose option A, the team charter, right? Clarifying the team charter because that's where the rules of, like the meetings, how and the norms, etc., like you're saying here, are usually implemented and followed through by the project manager.
Absolutely. So it's a team charter in which we write meeting protocols. What are the meeting protocols? So actually, project manager is clarifying those protocols, like being punctual and ready for meeting is crucial, and we are committed to ending meetings on time to respect everyone's outside obligation and plan. So this is one of the meeting norms that project manager is clarifying. Correct answer is A, clarifying the team charter. Okay, let's read the explanation. All right, I hope it is clear. Let's move to question number 3. All right. Anton, you have chosen option no.
Boy, that was a previous one.
Okay.
But I think in this
I have realized.
particular case, I would go with actually letter C.
C. Okay. Send the team member back to their functional department. Okay. Right. So means you will fire the team member from your team.
Pretty much the reason behind it and my logic is they were one-on-one discussions and even a written warning. So kind of you already exhausted your options here. So one last cut basically.
All right, great. Thank you. So you have one-on-one conversations. You have sent a written warning as well. Now, what could be the possible next step?
And it says one-on-one discussions, so plural.
Yeah.
So obviously there were few
meetings
before that. So I
multiple
guess
discussions and then a written warning. Okay, right, great. Good job. Okay, so Vamshi, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, I just selected for the option D because generally couple of projects where I work, they go with like a team 3 rule, like most of the times. So final think generally we provide to the team member to give the consequences, gives like a much more. That's where the people can able to understand, or if there is any impediments he has with the team, that's where the final discussions can happen. From there, I thought like the C can able to app, like he can able to send to any other team, or like we can able to go for option A.
All right. Okay. So you're saying like before taking any swear action, there should be a final warning, and that would be an opportunity for the team member to explain their position if there are any concerns.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So Alan, you have chosen option A.
Yeah, actually, as the statement says, discussion one-on-one and also writing warning. So the project manager may already perform the activities to try to take the tension with the stakeholders. So I escalate the condition because it's out of the hands of the project manager. So for me, those two are the keywords on the statement.
All right, that's right. But remember, from exam perspective, escalation is the last resort. Remember, the last option is escalation. If nothing is working, then you can go for escalation, right? And even in escalation, sending a report or sending an email, those are least effective topics or methods. Talk to relevant individual, talk to functional manager, have a meeting like mediation or something like that. So gradually you move to the swear level. So if we talk about option A, make a report and send it to HR, this is escalation. We don't normally do that until everything is exhausted. Facilitate mediation between the team member and the rest of the team. So it's not a conflict like between team member and that particular member that you need a mediation. It's a concern regarding ground rule. So ground rule is not being implemented. So it has nothing to do with mediation between team members and team that particular team member in question. So there is no conflict. So facilitating mediation would not help. Send the team member back to their functional manager. It's a swear action. That's again last resort. If nothing is working, then you go with that. Give a final warning with clear consequences. That is the next option that you need to do. If that does not work, then you can go with talk to the functional manager, talk to HR, and proceed with the formal proceeding, right? So these harsh actions, whenever you see such options in the exam, keep them as your last resort. Go for all the other possible options where you find a workaround, where you find a way to keep things moving, right? Whether, talking to team member again, explaining things, having meetings, one-on-one conversation, or even having somebody else uh, in the process to explain to team members like how important it is. So don't go for harsh actions if you have any opportunity or option. So in this case, D is the option, give a final warning with clear expectation, right? So let's read the explanation and then I'll take your comment. And also take care of one more thing. If you look at it, what's the non-compliance here or violation? So violation is a team member has consistently been late to meetings. So it's not a very swear violation, like for example, uh, a team member is harassing other team members, or team member is not showing up at all. So it's just, somebody is late to the meeting. So try all possible options and then go for the last resort, that is termination, removing team member, or sending a report to the HR for formal proceedings. Right. If you have any comment, feel free to share. So there is one comment, there is a legal rule of giving 2 written warnings. Yeah, it varies, right? It varies from organization to organization. You're absolutely right. They have, in some organization, it's 3. But since there is no such information in the exam, in the question, we can't assume that. But absolutely right. As I mentioned, look at these questions from practical perspective. So that would be really helpful. Okay, next question, please. All right, 70 seconds are over. So let's see. Garvita, you have chosen option D. Why?
I used elimination and I couldn't connect with any rest of the 3 options. Since it's an issue which is related to, a representative from client side, somebody else also needs to be involved in it. So I thought you need to involve someone. So I put it as an issue.
All right, so what did make you think like it's an issue?
Okay, the first thing I did was rejecting the rest of the 3 because reviewing the team charter didn't make sense in this situation. The stakeholder engagement plan review will also not do good in this situation. And if I go and check the raci metrics, i i I don't see a solution coming out of any 3 of these options.
All
So
right,
I thought the
okay.
issue log would help me. And another thing which complemented choosing D option was the association of the representation party, which is like outside. You know, that's
Yeah,
what I thought. These were the only 2 conversation I had in my mind when I was considering option D.
great. So how association, outside association is relevant in choosing the right answer?
See, it's a client side, so
Yeah,
the negotiations or probably the discussions need to be more I
more
um,
comprehensive. This is what you're saying. That's why you have.
more comprehensive, and you need to think about a way to figure it out. Like probably maybe you will write a mail. You don't have a solution right away available to fix this thing. You just can't go and tell him that this is not working. You probably will write a mail or do a conversation offline and then uh, try and fix this thing.
All
I
right.
mean, I don't know. That's how I thought. I'm not sure if I'm, right in thinking it this way.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Shahzaman, and Shahzaman would say option B, C, D are clear, so they are not relevant. So A is correct. So Shahzaman, why you have chosen option A?
Absolutely not. I'm not going to say that. I went with the team charter because the norms and values which are related to team project team is chartered in the team charter. But as I heard the discussion you were having,
This involves a representative from the client side.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of second guess that this might be related to option B as well, but I would still go with option A because option C and option D both in these conditions doesn't seem right.
So you have eliminated C and D, and you're slightly
Yes.
confused between A and B, but your gut feeling says let's go with option A, right?
Yes, because stakeholder engagement plan outlines the rules which are related to the scale. How would you engage stakeholders and how would you communicate with them? And with regards to collaboration and ground rules for meeting, I guess this relates to team charter.
All right. Thank you. Okay, Felicity, you have chosen option B.
Yes, because I guess I felt that it would be a good idea to review what the plan was around the stakeholder engagement, in case there were maybe alternative methods that we could be using. I guess, assuming on the positive side of things that the representative is consistently failing to comply with the norms because there's miscommunications about when the times are and things like that. So, yeah.
All right. So if you look at the question, it says a project sponsor has endorsed a set of ground rules designed to facilitate project team. So these ground rules are for project teams. Okay, number one, as some of you have mentioned, despite this, a representative from the client side consistently fails to comply with these norms. These norms are for team, right? These norms are not for the clients, okay? These are internal to the team dynamics. These are not applicable to external parties, right? So first of all, those who have chosen it's an issue, first we need to determine if it's an issue or not. Yes, if you develop something, if you sign something that is for all the stakeholders and one of the stakeholders is not complying to those policies, procedures, and norms, then that is an issue. In this situation, it's not an issue, right? You have developed something for your team and external party is not adhering to it. That's not a problem, right? Because these norms are not applicable to them, right? So to address this, what should the project manager undertake? So stakeholders, interactions, communications are driven by stakeholders engagement plan. So we need to review stakeholders engagement plan, like what are the stakeholders engagement strategies, how we will be engaging with the stakeholders. If a stakeholder is not complying, if a stakeholder is not participating, is it mentioned in stakeholders engagement plan or not, right? Or how to engage with the stakeholders. Correct answer is review the stakeholders engagement plan. All other options are incorrect. This is internal to your team, so irrelevant. Check the RACI matrix. RACI matrix has entirely different dynamics. It's about specifying responsibility, accountability, and it's not an issue, so we won't be updating the issue log. Correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. All right, I hope it is clear. Let's move to the next question. All right. So surprisingly, most of you have answered correctly. And okay, good. So Mohan, you have chosen option A. Why?
I'm guessing that's not the right option. Um, I think that the culture essentially was a strong individual contributor culture, right, which is being promoted by the program manager. And I felt like reading these options, the most significant challenge that the PM project manager would face essentially was to make the team realize the benefits of an effective collaboration. I mean, you know, shifting from that culture of individual contributor to, how do you so I think that would be a challenge for the team to understand, just because it's a culture and a mindset of individual contributor.
Yeah. Good try. But see, option C says convincing the team to spend less time on individual tasks. So do you think this would solve the problem? Like if you're saying, okay, spend less time on your individual tasks, then what? This is not, this does not directly address the problem of collaboration. Okay? We're just saying, okay, don't spend much time on your tasks. But it doesn't say anything, okay, don't spend much time on your individual task and spend more time in collaboration and cooperation. So it's not the time issue, it's the behavior issue, right?
Right.
So convincing the team to spend less time on individual tasks, this would partially address the problem. Okay, then what? Then, okay, we'll see what is the correct answer. But this option C does not actually address the problem.
I selected A.
Oh, you selected A, ensuring the team understand the benefits of collaboration?
Right. Sorry. Yeah, I think I selected 5A.
Yeah, you're right. Everybody understands the benefits of collaboration, but the problem is that it's an individual contributor culture. The culture is like that, right? They understand the benefits. Everybody understands we need to collaborate. Nobody says we shouldn't collaborate, right? So the question is, what is the most significant challenge PM would be facing? So that's not a challenge. You can simply talk to them, you can explain them, and they would understand, yes, there is a benefit. But changing that behavior is a problem. Understanding is not a problem here. Okay. So option A is not correct. Okay. I can see other options. Jashri, you have chosen option B, I guess.
Well, A summer. So ensuring the team understands the benefit of collaboration, it's a common thing which we can quickly do, as you have already highlighted. And convincing the team to spend less time is already ruled out, as you had commented. Overcoming resistance from team members who prefer to work independently. No, that is not the issue to be solved here, but a new ground rule is set. That is changing from the strong individual contributor culture to bringing in collaboration and open communication and difference. Culture is getting changed with them. So yes, the challenge will be in ensuring that adherence to the new rules. That's why I selected.
All right. So developing a system to track adherence to the. So Jashri, tracking is not a problem here. Tracking would happen once people start doing it, right? You can easily track who is, collaborating and who is not collaborating, who is participating in the meeting, who is not participating in the meeting. This is simple. This is easier, right? That's not an issue. Tracking is not an issue. Making people feel like they need to collaborate, that is a challenge because the culture is individual centric, right? So tracking is not an issue. All right, I'll take one more comment and okay. Callum, you have chosen option D. Why?
That is because as the the question says it is individual contributor culture. So then if the project manager is going to say just contribute, so then they're not going to be happy about that, so then they will resist.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's an individual centric culture. So the people who like to work independently, they would be having problem. They would resist because they are comfortable in the way they are working. So overcoming resistance from team members who prefer to work independently, that's the biggest challenge. Making people realize like collaboration is important. This is an easy task. Everybody understands, but the problem is implementation. Tracking is irrelevant here. Convincing the team to spend less time on individual tasks, this would partially solve the problem, right? So the biggest challenge is overcoming resistance from the team members who prefer to work independently. Let's read the explanation. All right. If you have comment, please feel free to share. Don't hesitate. Let's move to the next question. All right. Mohan, you have chosen option D. Why?
I didn't put a lot of thought to this, but basically, the culture essentially is that they are lacking the formal culture, right, of having a team charter and a signed off version of the team charter. So, and this is obviously an agile life cycle, right? So I think A and B and C essentially are talking about the team charter, more of the formal piece. So I think D was going with that culture and building that team activities, right? And like it says, recognizing that the formal team charter isn't always necessary. So it's about not necessarily the process or the formalization of a deliverable being signed off, but essentially how do we collaborate, build a team, and kind of make sure that we do the work.
All right. So what you're saying is it's not important to follow the process. We should focus on the outcome or results. If you're getting your results, then it's okay, right? That's your explanation. Good. All right. Vamshi, you have chosen option C.
Yeah, I selected the option C because generally the team charter is like the common document we generally have with the stakeholders, team, and everyone. So within the team, if we can able to have like multiple meetings and show the significance also, but in order to implement that, we need a formal project sponsor also. Then we can able to emphasize to the team like why it is required.
All right. Great. So remember, you see a lot of questions in the exam where, the question would be the organization is, waterfall organization. Now there is a new project and they are moving towards agile. What you will be doing. So the first action in that situation is you need to talk to the people. You cannot directly implement anything. You cannot directly unilaterally seek approval from sponsor or senior management. So you need to build that shared understanding first, if that is important. So if you're working in an agile project, it means it's important, it's indispensable, like you have to follow the agile methodology. There is no other option. When you don't have any other option, then you convince people, you talk to people rather than directly implementing that methodology. That would not help. So whenever you see such question, talk to people. But here, if you see one more practice, good practices, is that whatever PMI prescribes, whatever PMI suggests, those are not prescriptive guidelines. These could be formal, these could be informal. So there's a concept of tailoring. So you need to tailor these practices, these guidelines, these policies, these procedures according to your need and organization. So if organization culture is resistant to formal documentation, it's leaner, it's agile, right? So rather than focusing on formally implementing something, you should focus on results, as Mohan mentioned. Focus on the outcome. If you're getting the outcome through team building activities, so there is no need to sign a formal team charter, right? So formality is not the requirement. Requirement is the result or the outcome. So if you're getting your results without signing a formal team charter, it's great. So if team culture is against, organization is against exhaustive documentation, they don't have any such culture of signing a team charter, you should not enforce that. So proceed with that, prioritize team building activities, achieve those results and outcomes through those activities, and there is no need to sign the formal, team charter at that particular point in time. Maybe in the later stages, with the passage of time, when team member realize they are accustomed to, using these norms and values or following these norms and values, then you can start signing these charter. Correct answer is option D. Prioritize team building activities, recognizing that a formal team charter isn't always necessary. And this is from PMI Agile Guide. When you read the text, if I go to the question to the answer, it says teams do not need a formal process for chartering as long as the teams understand how to work together. So this is directly from PMI Agile Guide, right? So when you read that, you get these clues and understanding. So you don't need a formal team charter as long as they understand how to work, right? So if culture is against, you go with team building activities and forget about team charter at that particular point in time. Please read the explanation, then I'll take your comment. All right, Shazama.
Yes, thank you. Can you just go back to the question, please?
Yes.
Yes. The question says that the team is against formally signing a team charter. It doesn't say that the team is against the principles of team charter. So why isn't option B correct? Because it just says that we periodically communicate the principles of team charter without having to sign a team charter.
Yeah, you're right. So, but the question says is that you have recently joined the organization that lacks a formal culture. So team building activities are more effective rather than just verbally communicating the principles. You understand? So we need to choose the most effective option for collaboration purposes. So to enhance team collaboration, rather than verbally saying something, if you have team building activities, those are more effective, right? So that's why B is least effective answer as compared to D.
Understood. Thank you.
Callum?
My question is also the same, but I understand your explanation about B and D, but I just selected B as well. But my question, the further little bit of I need clarification. That question didn't mention anything that the team lacks of the team building and the collaboration or anything like that. So then if the formal culture of signing the team charter is not there, and they're against extensive documentation. But why not we just mention about some principles about in the team charter and just go ahead? So how did we decide that team is lacking this the collaboration activities?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I say something to you verbally, right, do this, and if I involve you in something and we do some team building activities, which one would be more effective? That involvement would be more effective. And also option D directly addresses the problem. What is the problem here? The problem here is you have joined an organization that does not have a formal culture of team charter and they are against documentation. So what you would be doing? So if you look at this, recognizing that a formal team charter isn't always necessary, this recognition is directly addressing the problem. So maybe option B is not directly addressing the problem. You're just communicating and maybe that issue still stays there. If you're not recognizing this, maybe you still have in your mind, like, I need a team charter or we should sign team charter. So option D is directly addressing the problem at hand. And the problem is clarification regarding what we need to do in that culture. In that culture, we need to realize, we need to recognize it's okay to proceed without formal team charter. So option D directly addresses the question. Okay, that's why it is correct answer. It is correct because of two reasons. One, it is directly addressing the problem. Second is it is more effective than B. So rather than just a verbal communication, involvement, participation, team building, it is more effective. Okay, so to enhance collaboration, of course, team building is more effective rather than just verbal, communication. Make sense, Callum?
One more question. So why did you decide that there is a problem? Actually, it is like a motherhood statement. I mean, just a statement saying that there's no Steam chart, and then they prefer less documentation. So how come you decide there's a problem?
Yeah, if you look at the question, we're not saying it's a problem. What I'm saying is the option D addresses the issue which is in the statement. What is the issue? Issue is you are a project manager, you have recently joined an organization, and that organization lacks formal culture of team charter. So you don't know what you need to do. Do you need a formal team charter or no? That is the question. That is the problem. That is the issue. So the answer
Yeah,
is
yeah, got it.
recognize that you don't need formal team charter. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
And this is
Got it.
not for this, particular document. This is for all the documents, right? So for example, if there is no culture of resources management plan, so it's not mandatory to develop that. If you read project management body of knowledge guide, it clearly mentions formal or informal, broad or detailed. It's discretion of the project manager. That's why we call it tailoring. It's your choice whether you need a formal document, informal document, highly detailed, less detailed, that's your choice. Okay. PMI doesn't say like you need to have formal documentation, exhaustive documentation. No, it all depends on specific context and culture. Let's move to the next question. We're running short of time. Quickly, please now. All right. Vamshi, you have chosen option C.
Oh, that was the previous one. I haven't replied yet.
Okay. Richard, you have chosen option A.
Yeah, I read through the question and I was trying to figure out what the question was actually asking for. So it said that you're an agile is it the agile team members, so it's talking about the entire team. As they embark on a project, they collaboratively, so they're working together, establish rules of engagement. So and then the question is asking for which accurately describes these rules. So as I went through that, I didn't feel that I ruled out C because I didn't feel that it was included in the project charter documentation. I would think that it would be more of like a team charter since the team put it together. It wasn't, so I ruled out D because it says in the question that the team put the whole thing together. So it wasn't just the coach putting it together and the project team adopting it. It was the entire team working together to establish these rules of engagement. So I ruled out option D. So I was between B and A, and then I read A, and I felt that best defined what happened as they were putting the rules together. So they developed in a prescriptive manner a project initiation. So they're working at the beginning of the project. And these rules are to be maintained throughout the project duration. So it is an established rules of engagement. So I felt that A was the best answer.
All right. Thank you for detailed explanation. So let's take another comment. Francis, you have chosen option B.
Yes, I've chosen option B because they are collaborating in creating these rules and they're all engaging together, trying to find a way to work for the project. So I think the action that describes the rules will be the working relationships, the process definition, and the decision-making process. Like they're all working together towards the same goal. Like
What is
yeah,
meant
that's why I chose.
they're working for the same goal? How it is relevant to the question?
By defining like how they if they are collectively establish these rules, that means they're all working together, towards the same objective. That's
Okay.
why I chose B.
So what do you think? Why option A is not correct? What's wrong with option A?
The option A doesn't involve really like more of how they are all collaborating and working together. It's more like they just get a set of rules, but not in a collective manner. That's why I did not choose A.
All right, but option A doesn't say anything about how these are developed. It doesn't say like there is no collaboration or something like that. It is clearly mentioned in the question, they collaboratively established. In the start, if you read, it says they have collaboratively developed these rules. So the rationale or the logic you're using is not applicable here. Okay, right, but good try. Okay, let's take another comment. Mohan, you have chosen option B. Why?
I chose B because I mean, to me this is agile, and it is about establishing the rules of engagement, right? And in the agile, the team members are empowered to essentially make those rules and also empowered to make rules, excuse me, have decision making, make rules to make the decision making process, right? So I think B was more in line with the question. A, I kind of eliminated because it seemed to me more of a prescriptive manner, more like a static document, even though it says maintained throughout the project duration, but it was started off early in the initiation, and C and D I eliminated.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. So it says developed in a prescriptive manner at project initiation and maintained throughout the project duration. So something that is prescriptive means that is fixed, that is rigid, there can't be any variation, and maintained throughout the project life cycle means you cannot change it, right? You whatever you develop in the initiation, you maintain it. That's not what we do. So actually, what is the question? The question says you're developing team charter. So actually, you're developing team charter. Because in team charter, you establish rules of agreements and all the norms and behavior, and you display at as an information radiator or at some place where team members review these rules on daily basis or regular basis. So you are developing team charter. Question is, what are the which option accurately describes characteristics of team charter? So team charter is not a prescriptive document. It's a vibrant document. It's a dynamic document that keeps on evolving with the passage of time. We do not maintain throughout the project duration. It's not prescriptive in nature. So option A is incorrect. Option C and D, we have already talked about it. C is project charter. We are not talking about project charter. Project charter is something else. Option D, ideally created by Agile coach. No. Team charter is created by the team collaboratively. So correct answer is team charter outlines relationship building, how we will be interacting with each other, practice definition, define various practices that team members would be engaging, and decision-making process, how team members would be making decisions. So correct answer is option D. So option B. So option B accurately describes characteristics of team charter. All other options are incorrect. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Richard, you have chosen option A.
So yeah, as I read this, it doesn't say whether it's agile or waterfall. So I kind of read this as waterfall. So basically, your team and you're bringing in a third party for some external marketing. And when I went through here, basically, I did not feel that workshop to establish project constraints had anything to do with the question. The chief team charter and the ground rules had nothing to do with the subcontractor because they're a subcontractor, they're a third party. A brainstorming session, that could also, I mean, you can sit there and pick your brain, but it's like you're trying to integrate. So you're, as a team, you're already established and you're trying to bring a third party in. So the best way to bring them up to speed is to have a kickoff meeting with them and then let them know, what the expectation is and how you would best utilize their services for them to market what your product is. And I landed on option A.
All right, thank you. Anton, you have chosen option A. Why?
Yeah, I also chose option A. I think the answer is in the question, right? What steps should project manager take to effect integrate? So integrate is basically a beginning of the process, and kickoff meeting. Well, it's called kickoff because it also starts the entire project.
All right. Anybody else who would like to comment? Manmeet?
Yeah, just because kickoff meetings means we will be able to see team face to face. We will be able to tell them what new resources are and what the project expectations is. That's the only reason I chose kickoff meetings.
All right. So Richard explanation and Anton's and Manmeet absolutely right. So all other options are irrelevant, right? We don't define constraints with the vendor, right? Constraints are already there, like project time, project cost, it's already there, right? So this option is irrelevant. Share team charter. First, it is not relevant. Second, we just don't share document. That's the least effective way, just sharing the document. So if you see any option in the exam, a new team member has joined and they're not sure what is procurement management, so it doesn't mean share procurement management plan. No, talk to them, explain them, mentor them, coach them. Those are effective option. So not right option. Organizing a brainstorming session about what? So there are no details. So organizing a brainstorming session would not help in integration. So again, brainstorming is more like idea generation, right? So we are going with option A, schedule a kickoff meeting to explain what are project expectations, right? So once they are clear, then you move forward. Option A is correct. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right. Mohan, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, I think as part of the characteristics of servant leadership, right? Um, we want to empower the team members to resolve the issues internally, and that would be the first step as a servant leader, what you would do. And if it is not resolved, then kind of step in and have those and pick option A. But I know the first step would be option B in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely right. Allow the team member to uphold their own ground rules and resolve the issue internally. But if you look at this option, it means if there is any problem, you just let the team do whatever they are doing, right? If there is any problem, if you see anything that could be a compliance or non-compliance, so let the team do whatever they're doing. So if that is the mindset, it means you won't be doing anything. There is no need of a servant leader. If you see a problem or if you see any behavior that doesn't look a normal behavior. So let the team do whatever they're doing, right?
Well, right, but you would monitor and try to see if it is impacting any of the program KPIs, right? And especially in the daily stand-up. Um,
Absolutely. So
if
now,
it impacts that,
so
then
you
you
will be
can start.
monitoring, you will be seeing if it is impacting or not, if it is a violation or not. You understand? First of all, you need to determine if it is a violation or not violation, or does it require your intervention or not. So without analyzing, without looking at the problem, just letting the team do whatever they are doing, that's not the right option. Maybe ultimately you will be doing this, maybe after analysis. But first of all, you need to determine if it is a normal behavior or abnormal behavior. Okay. Once you determine that, then you decide, let the team member do whatever they're doing. But if it's a gross violation, maybe you will be intervening. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So I can see other options as well. Shazman, you have chosen option C. Why?
Yes, for the same reasons you have just discussed. Whenever there is a problem, we first analyze the problem. What is actually the problem? So without ascertaining the issue at hand, we cannot just jump onto the conclusion. So to analyze the problem, we need to first review the team charter to determine team expectations. Only then we'll be able to find out the solution of the problem. So
Yes,
so the right
absolutely.
option is.
Absolutely. So in team charter, we write meeting protocols, who will be attending and who will not be attending. It's not mandatory for all the team members to attend daily stand-up meetings. So Scrum Alliance, Scrum Guide explains that developers, they are mandatory to participate in these meetings. So they define developer, anyone who is contributing to the development of the product, but it's not mandatory for everybody to participate, right? So it all depends upon team collaboration or team's understanding, like who will be attending, who will not be attending. And even you can miss these meetings as well, right? It's not mandatory that you always would uh, be participating daily stand-up meetings. So first of all, you need to review the team charter. So for example, Rahul isn't participating today, so it's okay, perfectly fine. If maybe it's part of our team charter, right? So review the team charter to determine expectations. Like if the expectations say like everybody should participate and nobody can skip the meeting, then it's a violation, right? Maybe then you can talk to team members, remind team member of the importance of daily stand-up meeting. Then option C would come as a second step, right? Then maybe option A would come third step, schedule one-on-one meeting with non-participating team members. You understand? So first of all, we need to understand the problem and then we'll make a decision. Correct answer is option C, review the team charter to determine expectations to see if it is violation or not. Let's read the explanation. All right, I hope it is clear. Let's move to the next question. All right. Vamshi, you have chosen option A. Why?
So from the question, you can see the developer has just joined the project, and already the Scrum Master provided a quick guide about the project and the project alignments, everything. And from the question itself, we have seen that he made the introduction to other team members as well. So he given the documentation, he had the introduction to everything. So a formal kickoff is that's what I thought to not only for other team members, which gives to the other stakeholders as well. Sometimes project like the product managers won't be available, so the kickoff meeting can give to all the team members, including the stakeholders. That is the reason I just given the option A.
All right. So other team members also include Scrum Master, Product Owner. They are part of the team. Not when it says development team, that is just those developers. When it says project team, it includes all the people who are involved in the project internally, like Scrum Master,
Okay.
Owner, and everything. So that
Okay.
assumption is not very relevant here. Like,
Okay.
so if introduction has already been done, so there is no need to do it again. So that is duplication.
Yeah.
It has
Got it.
already been done. So option A is not relevant. Okay. So I can see option D as well. Manmeet, you have chosen option D. Why?
Because introduction is done and agile methodologies, quick guide has been given. So I think the next step would be team charter and ground rules that the new developer has to see.
All right.
Because existing team members won't be having enough time to give the overview of the project. So I think reading the documents like team charter and ground rules would help.
All right, absolutely. So remember, this is the least effective option. This is what we have already discussed earlier. Telling somebody to read the document, go through that document, this is the least effective option, right? So rather than telling someone go and read that document, explaining them is the best choice, right? If team members don't have time, then who would be explaining to the new team member what is the project, right? So first of all, team member needs to understand what is the project, right? So it gives an opportunity to the team members to talk to each other, to talk to new team members. So it's again according to the principle of face-to-face conversations. Do not ignore these principles from exam perspective. These would be really helpful in answering those questions, right? So assign the new developer initial task. No, you haven't talked about project yet. It's just the first day or the initial days, so you can't assign the task directly without explaining the project. Instruct this is least effective. Correct option is allow the team members to give the new developer an overview of the projects. So that is, that focuses on face-to-face conversation and team engagement, team building, and new team member would be having an opportunity to directly listen from the team members about the project. Once he or she understands the project, then maybe task assignment would come later. Correct answer is option C. Option B. Let's read the explanation. All right. I hope it is clear. Thank you so much. We are done with our today's lesson. I hope you have learned valuable lesson. Those who are asking for my next course, it is starting on March 23rd. You can share with your friends and colleagues who are interested in this course. It would be 4 days long course from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I really enjoyed sharing my knowledge and experience with you. I hope you have learned a lot. You're preparing well. I wish you best of luck for your exam. If you're getting less marks in these mock exams, don't worry. This is a learning process. Every question is a concept, right? So do not evaluate yourself. It's a process that you're following. All the students who are passing the exam, they have gone through the same process. They were with you, they were attending these sessions, they were getting 5, 6, 2, 3, and ultimately they improved and they passed the PMP exam, right? Even if you're getting less than 5, don't worry. Focus on these areas. And remember, in exam, people domain would be very, very important. So from session 11 to session 23, we have discussed 130 people related question. If one goes through these 130 questions, I'm sure that you won't be having any problem in the exam. We have covered almost every concept from different perspective in these 130 questions. So we will be having 7 more sessions on people domain, right? So that would help you understand this. All right. Thank you so much. Take good care of yourself. See you on Wednesday with another topic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amar.
Thank you, Amar.
Thank you,
Good night.
Amar.
Thank you.
Bye.